Hey, what's up, guys? Want to welcome you guys out. This is season number 2. We are back, man. This is According to Kaz and Queen, and as always, I am Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
And check us out. It's season 2. We are in some new digs. We got a few new things going on. We're in a new spot, man, coming to you from an undisclosed location. But in this location, we get to enjoy some wine when we're doing our time. You know what I'm saying? So we appreciate all of you who have stuck with us and been asking about when we were dropping season 2. You know, it's a new year. It's 2023. A lot of things were going on, man. Of course, we had to get ourselves revved up and prepared. If you were anywhere in the central Mississippi area, of course, you know, I was busy in January with Jackson Indie Music Week. It was a very successful week. Year number 8 for Jackson Indie Music Week. For those of you that are listening to us that are not in Mississippi, of course, it's a 7-day music festival that we do right here in central Mississippi. It takes place right here in Jackson, Mississippi, for independent artists. And it's a week-long festival of concerts and showcases and panels and parties. And I was pretty swamped. January was a busy month, a very long month. It's always pretty long for me. I think you said it was kind of short for you, though. But, you know, January was a very long month, a lot of things going on. So we finally got an opportunity to, you know, sit down and get season 2 of According to Kaz and Queen started, man. You know, as you see, we got the banners in full effect, man. We are in here and we are ready to bring you guys another season of conversations that happen between a husband and wife in the privacy of our own home that we bring to you guys to make you guys think, to make you guys laugh, to spark conversations between men and women, because communication rules the nation. All right, so coming back, it's season 2. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good.
You a little stopped up.
Yeah, I've been dealing with the changing weather. It has a strong effect on my summer created body. So I have a little bit of adjusting to do with this weather. This Mississippi weather is not an easy thing to get used to, although I've had plenty of years of trying. It got me this year.
Yeah, indeed. And if you are just joining us, of course, you know the drill. Nothing has changed. It's season 2, but it's the same thing. All right. If you are joining us via YouTube, you know what to do. All you got to do is just look at that link right under my finger right there. As always, it hadn't changed. Check us out. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube page so you can check out all of the content that's on that YouTube page. You'll be able to check out season 1, all of the episodes, up to 22 episodes of According to Kaz and Queen. And of course, you can check us out on all streaming services. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcast. We're on Google Podcast. We're on Amazon Music. Anywhere that you listen to your podcast, that's where we are. So make sure that you check us out, man, and make sure you, catch up on season 1 as we get into season 2. Yeah, so the weather was crazy. The weather has been crazy. We've had some, 30 and 40 degree days followed by 60 and 70 degree days. And the wind
20
is blowing.
mornings and the afternoons of 70.
But, in Mississippi, you can get 4 seasons all in one day.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what we did. And we ended up, after Jackson Indie Music Week, we ended up, coming down with a little bug, as usual. And I try to prepare because, as you know, I'm not good with sickness at all. It's not my thing. I turn into a complete baby, and I don't want any parts of being sick. So, I have been on a regimen for years of, taking vitamins and supplements and all those things to try to build up my immune system. And but, when you don't get adequate sleep and when you're running and you're doing a lot of stuff as we have been doing and not getting enough rest, that bug can jump on you. So I got the bug first. And of course, because, I snuggle with my beautiful bride every night, she ended up coming down with the sniffles as well. So, we're trying to work our way through it. And it's crazy because COVID is still out here too in the same fashion. So, you guys need to be diligent and you need to be careful about that because, everybody's still in close quarters, but there's so much stuff going on right now. I'm reading about all kinds of different flus and viruses that people are catching now. It's kind of like germ warfare.
I was thinking the other day that the common cold is not the same common cold that it used to be.
It's
like
not.
You used to just kind of get the cold and you get the sniffles and you cough and maybe your throat hurt, but it don't really interrupt your life. Like this particular cold that I have is really it's like interrupting things for me. It's making itself known.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, there have been a couple of days where I just couldn't even, do the stuff I usually normally do. I don't know if that has anything to do with getting older, or if it's other things to check into and whatnot, but it's just, I've done the COVID test, so I know that it's not COVID, but it feels worse than a cold, but I know it's not the flu. There's no fever. So it's just not these germs we got now. These are like monster germs, like extra.
It's crazy. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, floating around and you just got to be careful. Age, does have a lot to do with it. You got to take care of your body, and we have been taking care of our bodies, before we ended on season 1. Of course, we talked about having the doctor's visit and going to Dr. Justin Turner. Shouts out to Turner Care and Dr. Justin Turner, by the way, and some of the changes that we were going to be making in 2023. And I'm really, really proud of you getting out on the road, doing some road work and walking and exercising and really taking, some care with, making sure that all the levels that are there, blood pressure and all those things are taken care of. So, and I know that was a big thing for you, and I know it was a change in lifestyle for you. So, how has it been? And just kind of describe how that has felt with you getting into an actual exercise regimen, something that, I will admit that I think that you have been vehemently against and running from and avoiding at all costs. But that doctor's visit changed a lot of shit. So
yeah, I guess so. I tried to go the route of just changing my eating habits. But you're right. I was defiant against exercising just simply because I could be honest here. Really, it was just because you was nagging and shit out of me about it, and it was just, it just got on my nerves.
I just want you to live, man.
Maybe I know,
It.
I totally get it. Totally get it. But the amount of pressure that you put on me made it uncomfortable for me. It became overwhelming. You don't know, or sometimes forget that I'm a very sensitive, like emotional person.
You're a baby.
So sometimes when you say stuff to me, I can hear you and I know you're right. You never lie to me, so I know you're right. But it's just like, I don't want to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, I guess I am kind of a baby because it's not like you're not telling me the truth. So, and also because working out has always felt so, it reminded me that I was overweight, and that triggered some of my abuse, and it triggered not being good enough, not ever feeling constant, the constant battles that I've had throughout the years with self-esteem and confidence and body shaming and things of that nature. So all of that tied into exercise for me. Like exercise, now one person might hear that and say exercise is the answer to all of those things. But for me, exercise was the punishment, was punishing me for being fat, for being unattractive, for being cheated on, for being,
That's deep.
So that was an issue for me. It changed because at the doctor, it became more real for me hearing another individual besides you tell me the exact same thing that you've already told me, but hearing him say those things and then having to tie them into what I know is true for my family genetically. And then thinking about if it's true for me and regardless of what I do, that's going to be there. Diabetes is going to be there. Congestive heart failure, that's going to be there.
Right.
You know, these things are just there in my bloodline. Then now that means that I could pass it on to my children. My son already is diabetic. So, you know, that put a level of pressure on me. Basically, it's for the same reason why I stopped smoking cigarettes when I was pregnant. It wasn't because I didn't want a cigarette. It was because I was carrying a child. So now I'm doing this so that Braylon doesn't grow up being afraid of, you know, having the same issues that I have, and also like not having a what's the word? Limited. Not having a limited palate. Like my palate is very limited. At 48, I'm having to teach myself to try things.
Right.
Because I eat the same things all the time and none of them are healthy. I'm eating vegetables that I've never eaten before in 48 years that I looked at, they didn't look right, so I didn't taste them. You know, or I smelled them and I didn't like the smell, so I didn't eat them. And now we're living in an age where you can do all kinds of things with vegetables and be really creative with them. And I enjoy cooking. So I've decided to just kind of change my perspective on it. And I look forward to bringing new things into the house. And I look forward to changing things that we eat and making them more healthy. And making recipes up as I go. So I've just kind of changed the perspective that I took about it, changed the narrative of it for me, and changed it from an attack to an opportunity.
That's a good way of looking at it. I mean, that's a positive spin. You always talk about putting a positive spin on things. So, you know, it's an opportunity to, you know, to get healthy. It's an opportunity to kind of change. And, you know, I've been watching the evolution, and I like it, and I think you're going to get yourself into a routine, and you know, once you realize that it's not a punishment, you know, I think when you start seeing the gains, and you already had some gains already, so you know, once you start seeing those gains, you're going to get addicted to it because you're going to want to top it. You know,
I can feel that coming. I can feel that coming, but you know, we have the conversations about weighing in. And I told you I didn't want to weigh in. That's more of the same. It's sort of kind of like a reaction of someone who's been abused. I don't want to weigh in because if I haven't lost any weight, it's going to be a derailment. And I don't want to, you know, derail my progress by one weigh in. And I happen to, since I don't know what happened. I don't know how this happened. I haven't evaluated it. I think it was from Bud Light, actually, if I'm honest. But I think I gained a pound back. And I didn't do anything any different but drink Bud Light. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I drank a lot of it.
I mean,
quite a bit of it.
It's a lot of it. Yeah, y'all did go through like
it wasn't no y'all. It was me. I drank the whole thing.
But I mean, you know, you're just starting, so there's going to be some gains.
But that made me feel horrible. Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, I'm not going to weigh myself no more. You know, it did make me feel like I got to get that off. But it also made me go down this road into like this rabbit hole of trying to figure out where that 1 pound came from. Because I haven't done anything differently, but those days that it rained, I was not able to get out and do my walking. Right. So maybe that was it. I did do things in the house, but you know, as you was telling me, it's not the same. So it's just a lot. It's a lot to get used to. I think that my thing is going to be doing it at my own pace without any expectation from anybody. I'm not out here trying to put myself on blast. I'm not doing any of that because I want to hold myself accountable before anybody else put their energy on top of mine. So I'm moving at my own pace. I'm doing what feels good to me, and I'm holding myself accountable. I do have a partner here who is able to keep me accountable as well, but I still have to be limited in what I say to you because this is your thing and you get excited about it. And when you get to talking about it, it doesn't always feel good to me. Sometimes it feels like a preaching sermon or something.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. I mean, I don't want you to feel bad about it. I really don't want you to stop. I just have to, with me, I just have to know when and where and prepare myself for the conversation.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm even approaching it after the doctor's visit. I'm approaching it differently than I have in the past. Than the past 3 times that I've taken off weight. So each of the times I've taken off weight, I've taken off 60 pounds one time and I've taken off like 70 to 80 pounds.
Fast.
Different times. And I took it off really fast.
Super fast.
I had a lot more time in those days. So, I could get up and go to the gym and be in the gym for a long period of time. I could definitely, take full control of what I was eating. But when you don't have as much time, you have to learn to adjust. So, new opportunities and new careers and those things that, are having me to get up and kind of, be in the mix during the day. I don't have the same time to work out that I did in the past. To make those adjustments. So I've had to make adjustments on, working out in the evenings sometimes or running in the evenings as opposed to going in the mornings. I was always used to going in the mornings. Like I was not going to go in the evenings. When I got up, my body was like, you need to go work out, and on the weekends that happens. But, now I'm not able to get up every morning or don't want to get up every morning and go work out. And I don't have the same amount of time to be able to do it. So this time I've had to learn how to adjust when I work out, how I work out. And when I lost weight those previous times, I weighed myself every day. And in the first week and a half to 2 weeks, up to a month, I was losing, 20.
Maybe you be obsessed.
Yeah. I was really obsessed with it. So this time I have not been weighing myself. I've been weighing myself once a week, on the weekends.
That was my suggestion, by the way.
So
shout out to me.
So I have not been, weighing myself as regularly as I did. Don't even want to worry about, getting myself discouraged or getting mad or getting upset because I know I'm not able to get up and go to the gym for an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning now. I don't have that time. I'm not finna get up again. There was a time when I would get up at 3, 4 in the morning, go to the gym, or 6 in the morning, depending on what I had to do. I'm not doing that anymore. I just refuse to do it. And I refuse to come home and be in the gym for 2 hours after work. So I've literally curbed the amount of time that I work out, and I've changed up and switched up my workouts. And because I lost weight so fast all of those 3 other times, I gained it back almost as fast.
Yeah.
Because what happened is that I cut off a lot of stuff and I changed my eating and did a complete 180 on my eating. And then when I got down to a certain weight, I just went back to eating what I wanted to eat. And I went back to eating bread and I went back to eating sugar, and the weight just piled right back on again. And then the crazy part, it gets to the point where I was going to the gym every day and working out the same every day, but I was eating so much, I was still gaining weight. So then that got to be discouraging because I'm working out every day, but I'm not losing any weight. I'm gaining weight. And that's because I was coming home and I had gone back to
eating whatever.
Yeah. So, I would eat on the weekend. I would eat, 6,000, 7,000 calories. We get up and eat a full breakfast, eat some cereal with some sugar on it, get some pasta, we'd eat some wings. I'd do that all in a day and burn and pile on 7,000 calories worth of stuff, go to the gym and burn 800 calories. And in my mind, I was saying, okay, if I worked out, then I'm cool because I'm working out. But in actuality, that's not how it works. If I'm only burning 800 calories and I've eaten 7,000, I'm about to gain weight. And I have just wasted my time in the gym. So I figured this time, because I don't have time, I got to really be diligent about changing up my schedule. So now, I'm changing the way that I eat, and I'm changing it in a way that it would be a lifestyle change instead. And one of the things that I didn't do that I'm embarrassed by is I just was not a water drinker at all. Just wasn't my thing. I only drank water when I was forced to, or, when I had to. So, I had a couple of bouts of being dehydrated, a couple of bad bouts of being dehydrated, which started because I was starting to gain weight. So I was working out and coming home and I was dehydrated. It got to the point where I was buying Pedialyte. And that kind of told me, it's like, hey, you're at the age now where you got to really drink water. So I have probably started in the past 3 months. I've been drinking more water than I've ever drank in my entire life. I'm diligent about it. I make sure that it happens. I buy bottled water every day, the tall bottles, so that I don't have to keep doing the little 16-ounce bottles. I do that at work, and that has also helped with losing weight. So if you keep your body hydrated and you've got water in your body, that helps you to pass the food along. So I've learned that, you can make some adjustments and do some things. And I've actually been losing weight. So, since, we went to Dr. Turner and I weighed, I've lost about 16, 17 pounds since, we went to Dr. Turner, and not doing anything close to what I used to do at all whatsoever. So, and I'm not worried about it. Like, if I go 3 days and lose a pound, I'm fine. If I go a week and I lose 2 pounds, I'm fine. But as long as the number goes down, I'm cool. Whatever time it takes, it takes.
Well, I also want to say that it's good that we're doing this together, because when you were working out and I wasn't, not just not exercising, but not doing anything, just like cooking whatever, and, because I'm a Southern cook. I cook Southern, which is not the healthiest way to cook.
Right.
So, but now with us being conscious of what we're doing and where we are, when I cook differently. So now you ain't got to have something separate to eat, or order you something and then me and Braylon eat something else. Mm-hmm. Like we eat together, and I'm, getting to the point slowly but surely where I'm trying different things. I'm even considering, easing off the meat. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen.
I don't know about that one,
I just want to try it. I might put myself on like a 30-day challenge. Maybe 30 might be a little generous, but on maybe a week. I might try with a week just to see how it goes. Just simply because I need to figure out the thing that works for me. And I think the only way that I'm going to do that is for me to be able to try different things and just kind of see what works. Like, I started off doing walking every single day, except Saturday and Sunday. Then I went down to 4 days. Then I went down to 3 days. What I'm finding is it's not really that many days, because, if you say I'm going to do 3 days, then there might be that one day that you can't get up. And I had them days. So now you down to 2 days. So I've had to make the adjustment of saying, okay, I'm going to walk every day, including Saturday and Sunday. I ain't did that yet. Have not walked on a Saturday and Sunday yet. I think I did it the first 2 weeks, and that's it. But I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what's sustainable for me. It's
you got to figure out what's going to work for you long term.
In a long-term way. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a lifestyle change, something that's not so drastic. And you've been the model for this. I don't want it to be so drastic that I can't continue it for the rest of my days. I need it to be something that I can do now and will be able to maintain. And I'm a foodie. Like, I like food. I love food. sometimes it's comforting, but not most of the time. Most of the time, I just like food, and it shows. So I'm trying to get to the point to where I like food that isn't just the stuff that gives us, heart failure. I'm trying to eat healthy heart food and healthy brain food and stuff like that. So
just making sure it's sustainable.
We got to relearn too, because we have not been taught as a culture, especially in the South. We have not been taught what eating good is. That is not even something. We eat what we can afford, because eating good is expensive. But it is still doable. Most people go into Whole Foods. You ain't got to go to Whole Foods. I ain't saying don't go to Whole Foods, but you ain't got to. You just got to be mindful about what you putting in your body, wherever you get it from.
You just got to be able to maintain it over time. There was some anxiety for me when, I started the new position, and I knew that I was not going to be able to go to the gym in the morning.
Oh, that was a complete meltdown. That was cute. You said anxiety.
There was some trepidation about how we going to get this figured out. Because I knew that I had to lose weight. And you can tell when it's happening, your knees start aching, your back starts aching, your sleep is harder. You're not getting good sleep. All those things have gotten better, after the doctor's visit, and we kind of tightened up on those things, man. So, we're going to keep it up. We're going to keep you guys informed on what's happening. But, if you're listening, couples out there, married couples, friends, whatever the case might be, we're going through something that a lot of people go through. We're going through similar things. Like, we are, dealing with how to best stay healthy and how to best stay, around as long as possible for the little one, figuring out what's best for us, and working out and eating, and what's going to be best for us consistently long term. So, we're going to keep at it. And, at least maybe once a month, we'll kind of fill you in on what's happening, man, and how that's going. But, if you are listening, and definitely if you are, in your late 30s, 40s, early 50s, like myself, getting some type of exercise regimen is paramount. Being healthy is paramount. Getting some vitamins in you, building up your immune system. When you figure out that you're not a young buck anymore, you got to really be diligent about being healthy, because there are people out there that need you to be there for them. So you got to take that serious. I will say this was a good choice. The Moscato was a good choice. I'm not really a wine drinker. But because, we're in our, new digs, and we got our new background and all the good stuff going here, we're able to actually partake.
I thought you would like the Moscato.
In the adult beverages. For me, I think for people that don't really drink wine, I think the Moscato, is the thing. So, yep. I mean, it tastes like something that, I don't have a problem with drinking. Sometimes I got to make myself, if I'm drinking red with you, sometimes I got to really make myself.
Red is very intentional. It's definitely a wine. There's no mistaking it. It's an intentional effort. Moscato is just kind of like a alcoholic sweet drink. Yeah. Like it's not overbearing.
It's like these folks now that are on this Taylor Port. Everybody's talking about Taylor Port. It's basically Mad Dog, really, at the end of the day. But the young people get really excited, when the new stuff comes out. Taylor Port, it's
they do it with everything. Right, everything that's new.
It's basically a fancy Mad Dog is what that is. And, we all had our times with Mad Dog. I got a lot of Mad Dog stories that I can tell you about Mad Dog, and some nights where I don't even remember what happened.
Ooh,
I'm talking about blackout on Mad Dog, on the brick, the grape Mad Dog, the brick of Mad Dog, taking it down. And I don't even remember what happened.
I used to drink the red one. And I remember a time where I drank the red MD 2020 out of a funnel.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
That's mad.
And the same day I had Cisco in that same funnel.
That's crazy.
I wasn't even trying to live. That was suicidal.
That's crazy. I had a night on Cisco as well. I had a night on Mad Dog, and I had a night on Cisco as well. And I think, we'll table that because I want to get into that probably on another episode. I got to talk about that night that I was on Mad Dog and that Cisco night, because those were some wild adventures. But we'll get into that in 1 second. We would be, of course, remiss without mentioning, of course, what's been happening in Memphis right now with Tyre Nichols, the gentleman who was killed by the police officers, unjustly killed by the police officers in Memphis. Those police officers have been arrested and indicted and released from the force. 3 of them were members of Omega Psi Phi, and the fraternity has come out. And, of course, this is, I guess very small and tiny in the grand scheme of what's happened. But, they have been excommunicated from the fraternity as well. I did watch the first part of the video simply because I just wanted to, I do at times want to kind of get an idea and witness, the brutality, because when someone dies from a beating, for me, what lengths did y'all go to physically harm this young man for him to die? You didn't shoot him. There was no weapons involved. They actually, with their bare hands, beat this young man down until he died. And I watched the first part of the video, and of course I turned it off because I was just really getting disgusted. But this has happened all too often. We know what this story looks like. We know how this story has ended. It's becoming too commonplace. And my heart goes out to the people of Memphis. I got friends in Memphis. And it's just crazy to see this happening. And it's crazy to see that this is still happening. And it's crazy to see that these were black cops who were doing this to another black man. And I just don't know at this point,
that is crazy. But what's even crazier is how swiftly they were prosecuted, lost their jobs
pretty fast, and
there was no administration. I mean, they did their investigation, but I'm talking about they put them things. They gave them the swift kick of justice. Now we all know we done seen enough non-blacks killing blacks that are in law enforcement, and this is not what we see. This is not what happens.
Right.
So I just wanted to, I can't get past that. Rest in peace to the young brother. This is terrible. I'm not taking away from that. But I can't get past the fact that had these officers been white, their punishment would not look like these other men. We know that for a fact. It's historical. We've seen it.
I want to say this, though, and the reason why I say maybe not, because in this particular case, the chief of police was a black woman who was a mother. And I think in this particular instance, had they been white officers, I think the same thing would have happened, because in a lot of the instances, and probably 90% of the instances that this has happened, there's been a white male that has been the chief of police or the police commissioner in the instance.
That is true.
And, of course, the justice was not swift, but, she intimated to the fact that she was a mother and that she had kids. And she's a black woman, so I think she understood that, the justice had to be swift. So, I won't say for sure, I can say in my opinion that I think that, the police chief being a black woman had a lot to do with the swiftness, and it would have happened with white cops. But you never know, because of what's happened in the past. It may have been some politics at play, but these black men definitely were arrested and indicted and fired immediately.
And then there was some history. There was some history there. It's never history with when cops kill black people and kill them dead. There's no history that they don't. It's like they might as well be a number.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that. I mean, maybe we need to be hiring more black
we
women.
We need more
in those positions.
We need more black people in upper in upper leadership in police forces.
Because that is missing, and I think you're probably right. Like most of them have been white men.
There has to be a level of the people have to be able to, there has to be a level of attachment to what's happening when you have a woman who has kids and she's black. It hits differently than a white male who might have kids that will never experience what black kids will have to experience with the police.
But I'm sure she didn't get the kind of feedback or response from white colleagues in bringing down this justice that she would have had they been white.
Right. And it's crazy because the dynamic in Memphis is a lot like it is in Jackson, Mississippi, for those of us that, for those of you that are listening, outside of the state of Mississippi. But, it's crazy. They've got basically a black city, and then they had the same thing that's happening with us right now. There was a clamoring for white leadership, and now, Memphis has a white mayor. And, they're saying that the crime is still spiking. Things have not really changed.
What?
Because
You mean the white mayor didn't stop the
white
crime?
mayor did not stop the crime, which is crazy.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because we have a lot of black people that, who I feel hate themselves, who, think that dynamic is something that's going to change, what's happening in their cities. If we've got a white person in leadership, then, what's happening right now is not going to continue to happen. And in Memphis, it's crazy because it's continued to happen and happened at the same, level that it was happening beforehand. And now you have this happening in all of the world. The eyes of the world are on the city of Memphis with what's going on now. And it's unfortunate and it's frustrating because it's just does not change. The way law enforcement is handled and the way that officers are chosen is going to have to change. Something is going to have to happen because, clearly, and it wasn't just the 5 officers. There were white officers that were on the scene. There were paramedics that were on the scene. There were several people on the scene that watched this happen and did nothing. They just stood there.
That needs to change too. Like, there needs to be equal accountability there. Like, come on. You don't interrupt. You don't push nobody away. You don't do anything. You just stand there. Like, you got to be accountable for that at some point.
I mean, it's crazy, really. The thin blue line, man, it's a ridiculous concept. Black people and the police talk about black people and the no snitching policy that exists in the hood. They talk about it all the time. And yet the police have a no snitch policy within their own ranks, which is the craziest thing to me. Our hearts and our prayers go out to Tyre's family, to his parents, to anybody that has suffered from this. We've got to really talk about reform in law enforcement. And it's crazy, not just white officers, but black officers, period. We've got to do a better job, and we got to do a better job of figuring out, running from the police, regardless of whatever the case is. Running from the police should not be a death sentence.
It's not for most other races.
It's not for white folks. It simply is not. But, running from the police should not be a death sentence. People should not die because they run from the police. And just hearing, and reading a lot of the comments from white folks on a lot of these threads, on a lot of these news threads. Well, he shouldn't have run from the police. And you hear that all the time. It's nothing new. Every time something happens with the police, inevitably it's a white person or white people who say, well, he shouldn't have run and he shouldn't have resisted arrest and he should have complied and did this, that, and the other. And there have been instances where black folk have complied and listened and still didn't make it home.
Listen,
still died.
The point is that if you get pulled over, it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to live through it. Mm-hmm. Not just get a ticket. It used to be to where you was scared you were going to get a ticket.
Right.
Then you became scared that you were going to go to jail. Mm-hmm. Now you don't know if you're going to live.
That's crazy.
Like, why wouldn't you run? Like, you might as well just shoot your shot, because you could stay here and do everything they say you
and
to
still
do
die.
And still die. So if you run, you might miss the bullet. So not that I am saying go out there and run from the cops.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is being black, and not even just male, but specifically two black men telling us to trust the cops with our lives. That thing is dead and gone.
Yeah.
That thing is dead and gone.
Yeah.
And it ain't because we want to be against the cops, and we want to, not have a good relationship with those who are meant to serve and protect us. But look what they do to us, all over, everywhere they do this. So I don't know what you tell. I don't even know what to tell the kids anymore. Like, we used to have this script that we give our young black boys about how to deal with the cops. We done had to make adjustments to that script, because now you might die if you get pulled over for a traffic stop.
Even if you give them the script, and I've seen people talking about, I tell my kids, keep your hands on the steering wheel, yes ma'am, no ma'am,
don't resist,
don't do any of that. We've been doing all of that, and we're still dying. Still, like, stop saying that you shouldn't have resisted and you shouldn't have run. Stop saying that. Why don't you tell the police to stop killing our kids and our black men and our black women? Just tell the police to stop doing that. This is not on the fault of the people who are dying at the hands of the police. It's the fault of the procedures and the tactics that are being used, and the fact that these people should not be dying. If you have to apprehend them, if they're doing something criminal, apprehend them, take them to jail, let them live to have their day in court, or whatever the case is, regardless of whatever, has happened at that time. Nobody is condoning crime or saying to let criminals off. We're saying that running should not be a death sentence. I mean, it really shouldn't at the end of the day. But, we're not going to belabor that point. But, of course, we had to talk about Tyre Nichols here, because that's what we do. These are the conversations, that we have. I want to talk about BMF, man. We got to get to, something that's going on in pop culture, man. We got to talk about Charles. We got to talk about Charles on BMF, Meech and Terry's dad. Something interesting happened. If you have been following BMF as we have, kind of got you into it in season 2. We're on season 2 of BMF. This is loosely based on the story of Big Meech and Terry Flannery. Of course, two Detroit-born guys who moved to Atlanta and started and created the BMF empire. If you are familiar, if you're from Atlanta or if you're from Detroit or Midwest, about BMF. Big Meech is legendary. His son now stars in this series, BMF, and it's loosely based on the life of Meech and Terry Flannery. But there's some interesting side characters in there, and we got to talk about Charles, their dad. And it was an interesting dynamic, and I thought this was interesting for us to talk about as a married couple, because there was a big thing on social media about the episode in which Charles was trying to get him some late at night or early in the morning or whatever the case was. And of course, the Flannerys had been having some money problems. He was trying to start his business. He couldn't afford to buy his daughter some bras. Money was tight. And early one morning, late one night, or whatever the case is, he turned over to his wife and he was trying to get him some, and his wife really wasn't in the mood to do it. She had a lot on her mind. She was going to work at Wendy's and, trying to bring some money into the family. She had to, fill out the credit card to buy their daughter some bras because Charles didn't have any money. And, people were saying that, Charles was wrong for trying to get him some while he was broke. And the mindset was, if you're broke and you can't take care of your family, you don't need to be trying to get you none. And they said that Charles was out of line because his wife was not in the mood because she was mad because they didn't have any money coming in the house. Now, I already know what your response is going to be because I know my wife, and we've already talked about that they crazy. That's the response. But
for context,
you know,
the people that you've seen, were they mostly women with this idea?
It was a lot of women, and it was a few dudes, but it was mostly women. But I will say a lot of them were not married too. On top of that, they may have had boyfriends or whatever the case is. But from the people I saw, a lot of them were not married. You know, younger single people. You know, the dynamic out there is crazy and it's weird out there these days. But it bears talking about. It bears a conversation. We're married, so I'll get to us in a second. But, you know, in watching the scene and seeing what's happening, you know, your thoughts on trying to get some, because we've had our spells as well, you know, where, you know, me pursuing music and, you know, trying to be an entrepreneur and not going the conventional route.
The spells of not having fun.
The spells of being broke.
Being broke. Did you go without sex?
I did not go without sex. But we had those spells. And, you know, we had some real spells of being broke.
When we met each other, neither one of us had anything. We didn't have nothing.
That's true. That's true. I mean, we had less than nothing.
Very little. Very little.
Really at the end of the day. And I think it's crazy because for me, I think I had more anxiety about it than you did. So, you know, there was never an instance where you were so anxious or, you know, so despondent or so stressed about us not having any money that, you know, you did not find yourself aroused sexually.
You know, I don't even know how the two things are related. I don't see how one has anything to do with the other. Me personally. Now,
it's got to be, because when I was reading, you know, these posts and I was seeing these conversations, you know, I was like, this is really weird. Is it a generational thing? What's the issue? Like, what does Charles being broke have to do with him trying to turn over and get some from his wife? Now I can see, because at the time, you know, Meech was out in the streets and, you know, she loves her sons. So that was on her mind as well. And the sons and the dad were at odds, and Terry and the dad were at odds trying to start this business. And it could have been that I'm just not in the mood for it at this time. But, you know, they were taking it as, you know, Charles ain't bringing any money in the household. He shouldn't even be trying to have sex. He should be trying to figure out how to get money at 3 a.m. or whatever time it was at night.
That's ridiculous. I don't even see how one has anything to do with the other, me personally. But I'm sure that there's an argument that can be made for her being stressed and turned off by him in that moment because he's not providing as she thinks he should.
So yes, in that instance, not being attracted because he's not providing. Is that a real thing?
That is a real thing.
Okay, there you go.
Absolutely a real thing.
There you go.
She could very well have been feeling like, I have access to money. My children are out here, wherever they getting their money from, they got money. But because of who I'm married with and our stance together as a union is that we're not going to use their money. Mm-hmm. Well, if you telling me I can't take money from my children because of where they're getting it from, then you need to be providing the money. So I can understand why in a moment or two, at a couple of times, you may be like, no, I'm not giving you nothing. I don't want to do it. Like, because you're not taking care of me, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, blah, blah, blah. I can understand that is a real thing that's very possible for women to feel like that. Now, this idea that he shouldn't try, I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't he try? It's his wife.
I mean, yeah, you got to try.
You know, you got to shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot.
And you got to understand or have some communication about, especially if it's ongoing and consistent. If she's consistently not wanting to be intimate with you, then you need to figure that out. But if it's 1 time, 2 times, and she's just like, no, I got stuff on my mind, like, that's just regular old married people stuff, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And again, we're in a social media age, so these young kids these days, it's all about the bag and it's all about the money, and all of those different things. I thought it was kind of weird, but when looking at it and kind of analyzing it and thinking about, even our situations that, when we've had the ebbs and flows, financially here in this household, as, any married couple might, we're absolutely transparent with y'all. But, the effort was there to take care of the family as much as possible. And it just wasn't connecting. But I just don't recall. I mean, was there ever a time that, you were kind of looking and thinking of things and, the attraction at the time was just not there in an instant?
There were times when I was put off, but it didn't have anything to do with money. It had to do with other things, not money.
Other things like?
Like you not paying attention to me or,
So it wasn't anything to do with we broke?
No.
It was other issues.
No, and that may be because when I met you, we didn't have nothing. So, and also, for me personally, I don't come from a household where my household, for the most part, was about struggle. Mm-hmm. My daddy was an entrepreneur. There was not a whole lot of money coming through the house all the time. We had what we needed, but there was not a whole lot of room for wanting things to the point to where that wasn't even something that wanting and mama give me this and I want this mama and I want that. That wasn't even a conversation. That wasn't my experience. So bare minimum was what I was used to. Making a meal out of 2 items. That's what I was used to. That was regular. It wasn't that we were broke, but money had to go back into the school. It had to go back into other things, So that was never a thing for me. I mean, struggle was not a thing for me. And I told you that when we got together, which is why it was not really a chore to support what you were doing musically, because I grew up with my mother doing the same thing for my dad.
Right.
So that wasn't anything hard for me to believe. But I can imagine that if you come from a household like the one we're providing for our child, she is probably not going to be that interested in somebody who has to get themselves together. You know what I'm saying? Or putting up doing the back end work to support somebody and lift them up. That's not something that's going to be her. It could be because she got our genes, but I could understand if she was like, nah, you got to come to me ready, because we presented her that type of life. But that's not the life that I had. And it doesn't look like the life that Meech and Terry had either. So I don't know. I don't. But for me, again, I think that if she had to let him smack on that snatch, some of the issues that they had probably wouldn't have been as big as they seem to have been.
Now, here's the question: as we go into the next, episodes here, not letting him smack the snatch. As a man, your wife is not letting you smack the snatch. We saw that. There's some, other, hens coming into the hen house there. So
in the church, found in the church,
in the church. So what does a man do when the wife is not letting him smack the snatch?
Well, you don't do that.
You don't do that.
No, you don't do that.
You don't do that. You don't do that.
Yeah, but they back in the day, that's what they did.
It is.
That's what they did back then. Okay, you ain't gonna give it to me? Bet. All right, Susie over here gonna give it to me, or the Jane down the street gonna give it to me. That's what they did. It was just what they did. Like that whole era of men, like it was way too much snatch around for them to be begging for it. So
there was a lot of snatch around, just floating around.
They didn't beg for it, but nowadays I would tell this young lady to have a real conversation with him about what's bothering you so that y'all can fix it. Because it's really not, what's becoming a sexual issue for them really isn't about sex.
Right. It's about,
and it's actually something that they can fix. But if you don't have the conversation, then it's going to turn into it being about sex. And then he's going to be cheating, and now it's adultery. And that issue of you're not being the man that I thought you should be, the man that I married, the provider, I'm losing interest in you. That conversation, that issue is going to get lost in the fact that he cheated.
Yeah, it is. That's very profound. That's very profound. We're going to see what Charles does.
Why you calling him Charles? Is that what they call him?
Because that's how she says his name, Charles. Like it's 3 A's in the middle.
Charles.
Charles. So we're going to keep watching BMF and, giving y'all our thoughts.
By the way, BMF is
thing.
my least favorite Power Universe show.
You got to get, even over Forrest, even over Tommy's show?
Yes.
Get out of here.
It is. I can't tell you why.
Tommy's show was good, but it took, I had to, I had to work with it at first. You know what I'm saying? It got better along the way. Now, of course, I'm going to watch it because it's a part of the universe, just like I'm going to watch everything with Marvel, going on. So
maybe it's because none of the people who were in the first Power are in BMF.
I mean, it's a different show.
I know.
So it's not in the Power universe. It's in 50s universe, but BMF is not in the Power universe. BMF is a standalone.
Maybe
there's
that's
going
what the
to be a
problem
BMF
is.
Universe.
I don't care about that.
I mean, well, if you know
He
the
might
BMF
lose me
story,
on that. I barely watched the first season.
You got to know the BMF story.
I know the BMF story.
Meech was a big deal. Especially being in the music business, everybody knew Big Meech.
I know Big Meech. I watched the documentary, and I would rather watch the documentary than this show. I don't know. It's just something about it. I don't hate it, but it's my least favorite 50 work.
I mean, for me, because it's based on true events and true people, I'm always intrigued because I'm trying to see, what's what.
So I've been seeing on the pictures of Lamar in real life have been coming up my timeline. And
he did that last season, though.
Women are really finding him attractive.
Those black guys from the UK are coming over here, and they're getting a lot of love over here. He's British.
What is he?
He's British. He's from the UK. He's a wanker. I don't know if he's a wanker, but
baby, that sounds good. Do it again.
Does it?
Yeah.
God, that's a horrible British accent.
It's close enough.
I do what I can.
And that's it for today's show.
Man, stop it.
We got things to do.
All right. At any rate, we appreciate you guys for joining us. This is episode 23, but this is actually season 2. So we're gonna keep this thing going.
We're gonna keep counting the episodes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna keep counting.
Over.
We're gonna go up. It's season 2, but it's episode 23. That's how we'll do it, as a matter of fact. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is our first show of the new season. Got new digs. We're going to try to do some new things, switch some things up, maybe even bring some people on. We're going to try to keep these conversations going. Of course, these are conversations that happen between a husband and wife in the privacy of our own home that we bring to you guys. But this season, we're going to be able to have the adult beverages.
And I'm going to try to introduce him to different wines.
We might try that on the show. We might try,
every show
wines.
We're going to have a different wine.
We'll try it, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not that big on the wine thing.
That's
Maybe
the best.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's the best time.
That's cool. Well, shouts out to Moscato because it got me through this one, and it's nice. It tastes good for me as a non-wine drinker. I made it through, so we'll be able to do it. But make sure you're checking us out on all streaming services, and of course checking us out on YouTube as well. And we're gonna come back to you guys real soon. We got more to talk about. All right, peace and power.
Peace.